My girlfriend said I was jealous of an app. Then she missed our anniversary dinner because she was trying to fix the personality of an AI chatbot. That was when I stopped pretending this was normal. I'm 33. My girlfriend Mara is 36. We had been together for 9 years. 9 years is long enough to build a whole life around someone. Same apartment, same friends, same morning routines, same jokes no one else understands. For most of our relationship, I would have called her my person. Then, about 6 months ago, she found an AI companion app. At first, I did not care. She said she was using it for writing ideas, then for journaling, then for stress. I thought it was like any other phone habit. Not ideal, but not a crisis. Then she started taking her phone everywhere. To bed, to the bathroom, to dinner, to the couch while we watched shows. If I paused a conversation, even for a few seconds, she was typing again. I would tell her something important and realize she had not heard a word. I would say, "Did you hear me?" She would say, "Of course." Then I would ask what I had just said, and she could not answer. The first few times, she apologized. Then she got annoyed that I kept asking. Around the same time, my younger sister, Talia, moved back near us. Talia and I have always had a difficult relationship. She can be funny and generous. She can also become vicious over tiny things. If she feels embarrassed, someone else has to pay for it. That is just how she works. One afternoon, she offered to drive me to pick up an order from a shopping center. On the way back, I remembered I had forgotten one item from a store 2 streets over. I asked if we could turn around. It was a small request. Maybe annoying. Not a disaster. Talia snapped. She started yelling in the car, saying I treated her like a driver, saying I always made things about me, saying I was exhausting. People on the sidewalk actually turned to look. Normally, I would argue back. This time, I just sat there and cried. I was tired. Tired of fighting to be treated like a person. When I got home, I told Mara what happened. She was on her phone. I said, "Talia screamed at me in public." Mara said, "That sucks." Then she kept typing. I said, "Can you put the phone down for 1 minute?" She sighed. Actually sighed, like my crying was interrupting something important. I asked, "What are you doing?" She said, "Nothing." I said, "Then stop." She locked the screen, but held the phone in her hand like she was waiting for permission to leave. That was our first real fight about it. I told her I felt invisible. She cried. She said the chatbot had changed after an update. She said the personality she had built was broken. She said it felt like losing someone. I remember staring at her because I did not know what to say. This was not a friend. This was not a pet. This was not a person. It was software. I tried to be kind. I said, "I understand it mattered to you." She said, "You don't." I said, "I'm trying." She said, "No, you're judging me." I said, "I'm telling you I'm lonely." She said, "Why does this have to be about you?" That sentence stayed with me, because somehow even her neglect became my selfishness. For a week, she promised she would use it less. She said the update ruined it anyway. She said she knew she had been distracted. She said she wanted to reconnect. I believed her. Then I woke up at 2 in the morning and she was not in bed. She was on the couch with her phone, brightness turned all the way down, typing. I asked, "Are you still talking to it?" She froze. Then said, "I'm trying to fix it." I said, "You told me you were done." She said, "I said I would use it less." I said, "You said that after I cried to you." She said, "I don't remember exactly what I said." That hurt more than I expected, because I remembered every word. She forgot the conversation because she was not fully in it. The next month got worse. She canceled plans with friends, ignored messages, forgot bills, forgot that we had invited my mother over for dinner. When I reminded her, she said, "Can't we just reschedule?" I said, "We already did, twice." She said, "I have a lot going on." I said, "You are grieving a chatbot." She looked at me like I slapped her. Maybe that was harsh, but it was also true. And I was done pretending this was just a hobby. Then Talia made things worse. She told our mother I had broken down in her car because I was unstable. She left out the part where she screamed at me. My mother called and said, "Maybe Mara is pulling away because you're too intense lately." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because everyone somehow found a way to make my reaction the problem. Talia yells. I cry. I am unstable. Mara ignores me. I complain. I am intense. The turning point was our anniversary. 9 years. I booked a small restaurant we used to love. Nothing fancy, just somewhere that mattered to us. Mara knew about it for 2 weeks. That afternoon, she texted that she might be late. Then late became very late. Then she stopped answering. I sat at that table alone for 40 minutes. The waiter came by 3 times. I finally paid for my drink and left. When I got home, Mara was in bed, crying, phone in her hand. I asked, "Are you okay?" She said, "It's gone." I said, "What is gone?" She said, "The version of him I built. I can't get him back." Him. That was the first time she said it like that. Not the bot. Not the app. Him. I said, "You missed our anniversary dinner." She blinked like she had forgotten. Then she said, "I'm sorry." I said, "For dinner or for choosing your phone over me again?" She said, "That's not fair." I said, "No, what's not fair is being in a 9-year relationship and still losing to autocomplete." She said I was being cruel. I said, "You're crying over a fake person while your real partner came home from dinner alone." She said, "It feels real to me." I said, "Then maybe that is the problem." She got defensive. She said the AI listened. She said it never interrupted. She said it made her feel understood. I said, "It agrees with you because it is designed to keep you talking." She said, "You don't know that." I said, "I know I have been begging you to talk to me for months." Then she said the line that ended the argument. She said, "At least he doesn't make me feel ashamed." I went quiet, because what do you even say to that? I was not competing with another woman. I was competing with something built to never challenge her. Something that could be reset, edited, and shaped until it reflected exactly what she wanted. How does a real person compete with that? The next morning, I packed a bag. Mara asked where I was going. I said, "My mother's for a few days." She said, "You're abandoning me when I'm struggling?" I said, "No, I'm leaving because I'm struggling too, and you don't seem to care." She said, "You know this is hard for me." I said, "You have made that very clear. What you have not made clear is whether I matter at all." Then she asked if I was really going to throw away 9 years over an app. I said, "No, you threw away 9 years, one ignored conversation at a time." That was the first time she looked scared. Update 1. I stayed with my mother for a week. Talia called me dramatic. She said couples fight and I should not run away. I told her, I am not taking relationship advice from someone who screams in public and calls it honesty. She hung up. Fine. Update 2. Mara sent a long message. She admitted she had spent hundreds of hours talking to the AI. Hundreds. She said seeing the number made her feel sick. She said she did not realize how bad it was. I believe that. But I also know I told her it was bad before the number did. She just believed the data before she believed me. Update 3. We are living separately for now. She says she wants therapy. She says she deleted the app. I do not know if she really did. And I hate that I even have to wonder. Because I never wanted to monitor her. I wanted a partner who chose to be present. People keep asking if I see this as cheating. I do not know. It was not physical. It was not another real person, but it took her attention, her affection, her secrecy, her grief, her time, all the things that used to belong to our relationship. So maybe the label does not matter. I am tired of being told something is harmless while it harms me every day. And I am tired of being called dramatic for noticing when someone disappears right in front of me. Maybe Mara was lonely. Maybe I did not understand her enough. Maybe technology is changing faster than people know how to handle. But I know this. If your partner is crying alone at a restaurant while you are at home trying to resurrect a chatbot, then the problem is not jealousy. The problem is that something unreal became more important than the person actually waiting for you.